Okay, so this, Matt, will you check the camera just to make sure that, right, okay, beautiful. All right, so this section is called Creation and Communications, Chapter 4, and Creation. It may as well be titled Creation is Communication, or Communication is Creation. This section teaches us about the nature of creation, the nature of our creation, and it's synonymous with communication. Very, very interesting that we were created by communication, we were created for communication by God, who created us by communicating His mind to our mind, therefore making our mind a receptor for God's communication and all communication forevermore. That's the purpose of our minds, communication. And that says something very interesting about creation and being, how your creation, what creation is. It says that you were created by communication and for communication, and that your being rests on communication. So isn't that interesting? You would think that your being rested on something like, I don't know, your physicality or your identity is separate from other things. But he's saying that your experience of your own true identity or your being comes from your experience of being in communication with every aspect of creation and with the source of creation. And that until we experience ourselves in communication, meaning connected to everything and everyone, it will never really know our being, never really know who we are and what we are. And so it's interesting how communication in this section is how you come to know yourself. And until you know yourself in connection and related to creation, you don't really know yourself. So if you really want to know your being, which is the end of self-doubt, then you would let this section and this curriculum teach you your relatedness, your connectedness to everything. So that's a little overall theme, and that's what we've been reading in this section up to this paragraph as well. It's just going to go on further with that. All right. So I'm saying, in this first sentence it says, this communication is the will of God. What communication? In the previous section, it was saying that the soul is in direct and complete communication with every aspect of creation and the source of all creation. That's what the soul's up to. What's the soul up to? It's in complete and direct communication with everything. Everything. That's what the soul's up to. Okay? That it says that this communication, that is the will of God. That's what God wants for us. That's what God wants for us. The will of God, what God wants for you, is to be in communication, connected, related to everything. Okay? Not some isolated, separate, mortal entity that's disconnected. It seems disconnected from everyone and everything. It says that's where sickness and death and loneliness comes from. It comes because I feel like I am disconnected. I'm not connected. I'm alone. I'm on my own. Well, what happens to the flower when you pluck it out of the ground? What happens to the tree when you chop it down? It dies. That's where death comes from. That's where the illusion of death comes from. When you're disconnected from everything and the source of everything, okay? So it says this communication is the will of God. As a matter of fact, creation and communication are synonymous. Okay. Where does creation come from? Communication. Then it says, of course, always goes on to explain the last sentence. In other words, God created every mind by communicating His mind to every mind, thus establishing every mind forever as a channel for the reception of His mind and will. What it says. Now, that is the purpose of our mind forever. What is the purpose of my mind? Is it to come up with stuff? Is it to fix myself and come up with answers to everything? Is it to figure out how to get what I need and what I want? Actually, no. Really, it's a channel for the reception of God's mind. Oh, that's the purpose of my mind forever. To listen for the voice for God, to be in communication with the source of everything. Wow, who knew? I thought it was to figure stuff out, right? To get what I needed, to meet my needs, to meet needs to fill my perceived lacks that really come from my perception that I'm disconnected. Disconnection leads to lack. Feeling disconnected leads to loss. That's where lack and loss come from. If you knew that you were in communication with every aspect of creation and the Creator, where would the idea of lack and loss go? Where would it be?
It wouldn't exist.
It would not exist. So lack and loss all come from a belief in separateness, which means disconnection. Meaning, I don't communicate with that, and I don't communicate with that, and I'll communicate with that, but not with them, and I'll communicate with them, and not them, and I'll communicate with them, but not God. You know, that's disconnection. All right. Then it says, since only beings of a like order can truly communicate, then God's creations naturally communicate with God and like God. We do what? We naturally communicate with God and like God. And then it says this communication is perfectly abstract in that this communication's quality is universal in application, and this communication is not subject to any judgment, any exception, or any alteration. So the communication, so we communicate like God naturally. I like that. I naturally communicate with God. And I also naturally communicate like God. And that kind of communication that I'm naturally in, unbeknownst to me, is abstract. What does it mean it's abstract? It means that there's no exception. There's not subject to any judgment. I'm not picking and choosing who I communicate with. I communicate with you because I like you, and I'm not going to communicate with you because you look like you know who. Right? That kind of communication is abstract. It is one. All right, that's the kind of communication that we're naturally in. Interesting. My soul is naturally in communication with every aspect of creation and the source. Wow, so if that's what's going on with my soul, that any moment, if I was to tune into my soul and its life, then I would be experiencing a slight expansion of consciousness. I would be tuning into an aspect of myself that's in communication with everything. Wow, that'd be some expansion. That'd be some expansion, right? No more small-mindedness there, okay? So then it says, God created you by this kind of communication and for this communication. So what was I created for? Communication. I was created by communication. I was created for communication. Then it says, now your mind can distort its communication function, but your mind cannot endow itself with functions it was not given. Okay? So, yeah, I can't give my mind other functions than it was given, which is just communication. Right? Abstract communication. And that's why the mind cannot totally lose the ability to communicate, even though my mind may refuse to utilize communication on behalf of being. Okay? So I may not use my mind to communicate in order to experience my being. Right? Do you want to know your being? Do you want to experience your real being, your true being, which is the same thing as saying the life of your soul? Do you want to experience your real being or your fake being? Right? So you got your being and then you've got your existence, right? And your real being is experienced through communication. Interesting. So Interesting. I'm used to thinking of myself as I define myself by what I do, what I have, whom I know, what I communicate. That's how I typically identify myself. That's how I try to experience myself. That's how I try to know myself or create my own self or create my own identity. And this is saying that you communicate, through communication is how you know your being. Wow. So, to what extent am I using my mind to communicate? To what extent am I using my mind to communicate instead of to make? Wow, interesting. Well, let's see. All right. Then it says, existence as well as being rests on communication. Existence, however, is specific in how, what, and with whom communication is judged to be worth undertaking. But being is completely without these distinctions. What does that mean? That means being is a state in which the mind is in communication with everything that is real, including the soul. Interesting. Now, you may see some variations. Yeah, you may see some, and to me the variations are interesting. But I don't think the phrase including the soul is in there. So, do you recognize what sentence does it say in your book?
I was thinking about something else.
Okay, that's all right. Okay, so it's interesting. So you got existence and you got being. Okay, existence depends on the how, the what, and with whom you judge communication to be worthy of. I'm going to talk to you. I'm going to communicate with that. And this is how I'm going to communicate, what I'm going to communicate, and to whom. It's specific. It's picking and choosing. It's real selective kind of communication, meaning joining. Being, though, what is being? It's a state in which the mind is in communication with everything that's real. Okay? What's everything that's real? Meaning everything that has life. Everything that is love. Everything that has life. That is everything that's real. Wow. Okay, that's what being is. It also says that being is a state in which your mind is in communication with the soul. Interesting. My mind is in communication with my soul. Now I'm experiencing a state of being instead of a state of existence. You see the difference? Interesting distinction. Okay? All right, then it says, to whatever extent you permit this state of being to be curtailed, you are limiting your sense of your own reality. Your own reality, which what? Becomes total only by your recognition, becomes total only by your recognizing all reality in the glorious context of its real relationship to you. Wow, that was a mouthful, huh? Okay, what is being? Being is being in communication with everything that's real, meaning everything that's been created, everything that's alive, living, everything that's love. Okay, that is being. Now, when you curtail that kind of communication with all of creation and your soul, which is in communication with everything, then what is it you're doing? You're limiting your sense of your own reality. Wow. Have you ever had a limited sense of reality? I don't feel real. This doesn't feel real. Am I real? What is real? I don't feel real. This doesn't feel real. You're limiting your own sense of your own reality. Wow. So, to whatever extent I'm curtailing that kind of communication, and I'm not communicating with my soul, which is in communication with everything, then I don't have a sense of my own reality. Okay? Now, what's he's saying your own sense of your own reality, he says, becomes total only by what? Only by recognizing all reality in the glorious context of its real relationship to you. Interesting. So until I am recognizing the relationship of everything to me, I'm recognizing all reality in what? In the glorious context of its real relationship to me. That is an aspect of myself. That is an aspect of creation I'm in communication with. That is an aspect of myself. That is an aspect of myself. I'm related to that. I'm related to them. I'm related to that. I'm connected to them. I'm connected to that. I'm related. We're related. That's an aspect of myself. That's another aspect of myself. All aspects of myself. Okay? That is recognizing all reality in the glorious context of its real relationship to you. Interesting. So until that is how I recognize, how I recognize all reality. Interesting. The goal here is to recognize everyone and everything in its connection to me. Now, as I begin to recognize that, wherever I go, with whomever I'm with, whatever I'm doing, then it says, this is your reality. That's how you come to know your being. That's how you come to recognize your own reality. Wow, pretty powerful. When you recognize your own reality, and you experience your own being, where does self-doubt go? Where does fear go? Where does lack go? Back to the nothingness from which it came. Interesting. I keep trying to find my reality by myself. What's my reality? What's my reality? I'm looking for my own. That's my problem. I'm trying, not only am I looking for my own reality, I'm trying to make my own reality. And I'm trying to make it with this and with that, not with them, and with this, not with that. And them, and that, and this, forget about that. That's how I'm trying to, of course, says we're trying to piece together our reality. Take a thread from here, I take a little stone from there, I take a little piece from here, I take a little shard from there, and I try to piece together my reality, my identity. And so as long as I'm looking for my own identity, and I'm looking for my own reality that doesn't include you-know-who, as long as that is where I am going to know myself, I will always be full of self-doubt. I will always be full of, who am I? Am I okay? Am I good enough? Am I all right? Do I have enough? Am I enough? Am I okay? Am I all right? Oh, I'm so afraid. I'm so afraid of loss. What if someone leaves me? What if someone abandons me? I'm afraid of loss. I'm afraid of being left. Until I know my own reality and have a real sense of my own being, then I will always be afraid. I will always be afraid of loss. I will always feel lonely, and I'll always feel scared. And I'll always be afraid of death. Wow. And here it's telling us how exactly how to truly find and experience your reality, your being, your real being. That you don't ever have to be afraid of losing or that it was inadequate in any way. So, any questions on that?
You have to open your mind, basically.
That's right. You have to, thank you for saying that. It becomes a practice. So the spiritual practice, the practical practice of this, in my perception is, so this is a spiritual practice of everywhere you go, everything you see, practicing going aspect of myself, connected to me, related to me. We're related. That's an aspect of myself. We are related. No separation. No gap between my mind and yours. No gap. I'm one with this aspect of creation. I'm one with the source of all creation. I'm one, and one. So it's the practical, specific practice of being related to everyone and everything. You know, and it's a practice, because you begin to see how many aspects of creation you don't want to be related to. I don't want to be related to them. I don't want to be related to that. I certainly don't want to be connected to that person. And I know I'm not related to that person. Right? Because look at our differences. And I don't want to be related to that aspect of creation. I don't want to be related to that person. I'm not connected to them. Right? Oh, but I do want to be connected to them. And that's what the Course calls specialness. That's about special relationships. The special relationships are the people that you choose to be connected to at the exclusion of everybody else. Those are your special people. Those are your special relationships.
But how do you feel connected to criminals then? Or bad people or bad situations?
Absolutely. By remembering that they are not their bodies, and they are not the behavior of their body. They are their soul, which doesn't do any of those behaviors. They are their soul. And you are connected to their soul, because their soul is an aspect of creation. And their soul is an aspect that was created by the source of creation. So if there's one creator, then everything that one creator created is related. Right? Even if some of those aspects are trying to do other aspects in, we're still related by the soul, by the spark of God. That is our life.
And if you look at it and say, just if one circumstance was different,
That's exactly.
one thing was different in your life, you could have been that person.
Got that right.
I was going to say that we have a lot in common, except they got caught.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. As Lord knows, not one of us in here could say they never had a murderous thought.
The Course says, if you really want to see a person without their body, see them sinless.
Yes, that's exactly right. The Course says, don't sit there and try to figure out, how do I see them as not a body? He says, just ask yourself, am I willing to see them sinless? Because if you can see them sinless, you will be seeing them without their body. Because it's only the body that does all that crazy stuff. It's only the body that does those behaviors that we don't like, that we need to put them in jail for. So good question.
Trying to, if we're going to understand ourselves, know ourselves, we got to have a picture of ourselves that somewhat resembles what it is. And mostly, I think we think of ourselves as this separate unit, alone.
That's exactly right.
And what they're saying is, no, you can't even exist alone. You're part of a much bigger thing.
That's right.
And if you take yourself out of there, you won't even exist.
That's exactly right.
So it's at the fundamental core.
That's right.
Because it says, as soon as you stop communicating, in other words, receiving,
Yes, that's right.
you don't exist. You can't, nothing exists that isn't part of it.
That's right. Communication is creation.
Yes.
You know, what gives life to, what is life? How did life come into being? What is it? According to this, it's communication. But we've stopped using our minds for communication. Now we use our minds for getting and for seeing differences. Now we use our mind to identify differences and to keep ourselves different. That's what we've been using our minds for. How to be separate and how to stay separate. Right? We've stopped using our minds for the only function our minds have, which is communicating. And what exactly is communicating according to this? Is it this? Is it talking? Is it words? According to this, from what I get, communicating is recognizing connection. It's recognizing, what is it? Recognizing everyone and everything in the glorious context of its real relationship to you. So every time I recognize that we are related and connected, we're related, they're connected, aspect of myself, aspect of myself, aspect of myself, connected, related. That is communication. That's how God created us. And that's how we communicate. And guess what? It's also how we create. It's also how we create. We were created by communication. Guess how we create? Guess how we become creators just like our Creator? By communicating. By seeing ourselves in others. That's how God created us. Seeing ourselves in others. That's creation. That's communication. In other words, when you communicate and you join in mind with other aspects of creation, guess what? You are being creative. You're making things happen. You're bringing real things, real reality into being. You're extending creation. You're being a creator. Things happen when you communicate, when you recognize reality in its relationship to you. Wow. That's how you create. That's how you know yourself as a creator.
So we use the root word to define. I mean, commune is co and union.
Yes, that's
or
right.
unity. You take the two and they become one. It's the joining.
That's right.
And so
Joining.
when we're arguing about our differences, there's no communication going on at all.
That's exactly right. Thank you. What is communication? It's a recognition of union. We are one self. We are one mind. We are one being. We are one creation. So that's why the Course says that nothing comes into being without some kind of agreement or joining. Nothing. Everything comes into being through joining, which is communication. And so in a real basic, gross meaning material, gross not being ill, on a very material level, practically speaking, if there's something that you are experiencing a lack of or the loss of, then that means it's something that you haven't been sharing. You haven't been joining upon, you haven't been communicating it. So the Course says the only thing that could be lacking in any situation is what you haven't given. You haven't communicated it. You haven't shared it. You haven't joined with it. You haven't given it to another. You haven't extended that idea through your body, from your mind to another. Like, that's how God creates, that's how we do it. So if there's any lack or any experience of loss, it's because you ain't sharing. You're not communicating. You're not joining on that idea. Remember, everything's an idea. Money's an idea, love's an idea, everything's an idea. All right, so if you are, oh, I don't have enough of this, I'm afraid of losing that, and oh, there's not enough of this, and I'm afraid of losing this, I don't have enough of that. That is what you aren't communicating. You're not giving the idea, but you're not sharing the idea, but you're not joining on the idea. So if there's something that you want to experience the creation of, now you know what to do. Now you know the first thing to do. Share it. Communicate it. Give it. Because communicating is creating. Wow. So that's a very
Creating is-
practical application of this abstract concept.
Creating means multiplying or increase.
That's exactly right.
It's the
That's
old,
exactly right.
everybody wins or nobody wins.
Mm-hmm.
If we stay our separate selves, we both lose.
That's exactly right.
The only way we feel increase is if we feel increase.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And of course, you always anticipate the next sentence. Okay, so almost the next sentence. So it says, you recognize your reality only in its glorious context of its real relationship to you. Then it says, that is your reality. That's your reality, by the way. What's your reality? Your reality is the glorious relationship that you are in with all of creation. That's your reality. Your reality is not defined by your separate self and what it does and what it has by itself. That is not your reality. That's your dream. That's your nightmare. Actually, that's your nightmare. What you have by yourself is what makes you afraid that you can lose. Wow, whatever I have by myself, that's what I am afraid of. It makes me different than others, which makes me enemies with others, and also now I can lose it, because only I have it, okay? So the glorious context of everything in its relationship to you is your reality. Then it gives you an instruction. This is your reality. Do not desecrate this reality, which means don't recoil from it. Then it says, this reality, your relationship with everything, it's your real home, your real temple, and your real self. Wow. So if you want to know your real self and you want to experience your real home, your real temple, now you know what it is, and now you know how to find it, and now you know how to experience it. For just practice experiencing yourself related to everything and everyone that you see or think of. Wow, that's your reality. Don't desecrate it, don't recoil from it. It's your real home, it's your real temple, and it is your real self. Wow.
I don't think I've ever thought of myself that way.
Yeah, we don't think of ourselves like
Home and temple. Temple was the place where God was.
That's right, exactly.
And that's
That's
what
right.
they say. That's also your home, that's yourself.
That's right.
They are all the same thing.
That's right. Your home, your real self, your real temple. You know how we tend to think of our body as our temple? Nah, that ain't your temple. That's your outhouse. Your real temple is your relationship that you are in with the universe. That's your real self. That's your real temple. Wow. And to whatever extent you curtail that experience, then you won't know your real self, your real home, or your real temple. And you'll feel lost. You'll feel disconnected. You'll feel lonely. And you'll be afraid of death. And you'll be afraid of everybody and everything. But besides that, it's all right for a little while, if you look right. So then, okay, so you also see here, so talking about the abstract. What's the abstract? Your being is one. Yourself is one. Yourself is in relationship with everything. Okay? I am oneself. I am oneself. I'm not this body. I'm not Anna Kujawa. I am oneself. And maybe I should get to know that self. Gee, I wonder what it would take to get to know that self. What would that self feel like? What would it feel like to walk around one day as that self? What would that self, that one self, experience in even one day in my life? Wow, now that's an interesting exercise. What would I experience life like as one self instead of this separate self that goes by my separate name, has my separate things, my separate wishes and my separate desires?
Well, isn't that kind of what the one mind is experiencing? It's split off into all these little minds,
That's
and it's
right.
just for fun seeing how it interacts, but we're not aware.
Yeah,
I mean, maybe I'm getting too.
maybe the first impulse was, hey, let's check this out. I mean, and that is, the Course says that, that what happened was we were experiencing the reality of our one self. And this tiny, insane idea crossed our minds like a little insane little ticker message, like you see on big buildings. This tiny, insane idea that went like, oh, I wonder what it'd be like to be separate. Gee, and it crossed our one mind, and we forgot to laugh at it. We forgot to go, that sounds like hell. God, where'd that idea come from? Next. We didn't do that. We didn't laugh at it at all. It wasn't funny. We took it seriously. And in taking that insane, mean, negative, cruel idea, we took it seriously. And because our minds are created by God, that means that our minds have no limit on their power. And so, bloop, our minds are powerful enough to create a world. If our minds have the power given them by God, then surely a world where it does seem like we're all separate bodies, is nothing for a mind like that. And here we are. Yay!
That's what Saint Germain says is the greatest, the most important thing you can learn is to know thyself.
Yes, exactly. And then, and of course, the Miracle says that one of the most powerful ideas that you can practice is I am oneself. I am oneself. And another way of expressing that is there is no will but God's. Mine and God's will are one. Mine and God's will are one. Now, when you practice the fact of oneself, one mind, and you practice that idea in your specific how, what, where, with whom ways, what happens is the split mind becomes integrated. Okay? We have mental illness within ourselves because our minds are not integrated. They're split. Have you noticed? Mm-hmm. You know, one part of me wants to do one thing and another part of me wants to do another thing.
Oh, I know.
I really want to do this, but how come I always do that? What is wrong with me? What is going on? Say this thing over here, but I do that thing over there. Right? There's not an integration, and there's not a mental integration happening. It looks like I'm living two lives at once. It looks like I'm two people at war within my own self. You ever notice that? And which one am I, by the way? Am I the loving soul who only wants to love, or am I the jealous, competitive, greedy, small-minded one that's always seeing people out to take something from me? Right? Which one am I anyway? You know, we appear to be two selves in conflict with each other. And so we appear to have these two lives that we lead. And you can see how that leads to a lot of confusion. And of course, as it leads to mental illness. How could you not experience mental illness if your mind is split into two warring factions within what seems to be one mind or one body? Okay, now you can see again the practical benefit. Not only is he saying, look, that's your reality, it's your home. It's also saying it's your sanity, it's your very sanity. It's your very sanity itself, your peace of mind. Where is peace of mind coming from? I experience myself as one soul, one self, one mind. Now, how do I do that? Everything I see, that's me, that's me, that's me, that's me, that's me, that's myself. We're related, we're connected. We're related, we're connected. That's an aspect of myself, me, 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 me. Instead of what I tend to do, not me, not me. Ooh, so glad that's not me, not me, not me. Ooh, I'd like that to be me. Look, there's my special relationship. That's the one I want to be me at the exclusion of everybody else. All right.
Does that mean anytime I'm not at peace about anything, that I'm just experiencing the conflict between those two me's?
That's exactly right. Anytime I'm not at peace or I'm sick, I'm afraid, it's because I'm seeing not myself. I'm saying, not myself, not myself. Ooh, I want you to be myself, but not you, not myself. That's not myself, that's myself. Come over here. Not myself, not myself, not myself. Of course, it says that anytime there's conflict, it's because you looked upon some aspect of creation, some soul that God created, and you are seeing yourself as separate and different from it. And that's where conflict comes in. That's where pain comes in. That's where physical illness and mental illness comes in. It comes in from disconnection. Right? So So this is an entire curriculum in the specific practice, the specific daily, specific practice of oneness, of no separateness. That's what it is. Every day, here's how you're going to practice it today. 365 daily lessons. Here's how you practice it today. Now practice it like this today. Now practice it on people you hate. Now practice it on people you think you love. Now practice it on people who, you haven't forgiven. Now practice on people you think you have. Now practice it on that coffee table. Now practice it on people who have died. Now practice it on people who haven't even been born yet. Practice, practice, practice on that tree. Practice on that wall. Remember the first few lessons?
Yeah.
Look at the wall. God is in everything I see because God is in that wall because God is in my mind. God is in that piano because God is, it's crazy when
Yeah,
God's in
I
this
know, I was
piano.
The first time I did that lesson, I was like, okay.
I mean, it's the course takes us where we're at and then goes from there. So lesson number 1 is, I do not know what anything means. It's like, starts at the totally basic. I don't know what anything means. I don't know what anything is for.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what that piano is for. I don't know what that carpet is for. I don't know what that chair means. It starts, he said, of course, takes you where you're at. That's where we are at.
Wow.
This seems so mundane and, childish. Well, okay. That's where we gotta
Yeah,
start.
But it makes sense in retrospect because our entire existence has been teaching us that this is such and such, and
That's
you are
right.
so and so, and I am so and being very specific about making and defining and create, not creating, defining what we are and what we're observing.
Exactly. That's what our whole existence has been about here. Teaching us how we are specifically different from everything. And that when you sufficiently learned how specifically unique you are, well then now we call you mature.
So it's like everything.
Okay, now you're an adult. Okay, great.
It's like
Now you're
everything.
insane.
Yes, same thing. Now you get your insanity certificate, which is the same thing as now you're an adult certificate.
Yeah.
You are now you can now officially meet the world of separation in its own separate terms. Congratulations, you're an adult. And we kick you out of the nest.
It's
We
like
say, go get something.
It's like everything.
Go on, go get something. Go make yourself into something. Because you know you weren't born as anything. So go on.
It's like everything we learned before we started the course is totally irrelevant. We got to start all over from the beginning.
Exactly, and that's why the workbook starts with, I don't know what anything means. I don't know what anything is for. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know the thing I am. So that's where it's got to start. Because it literally, the course describes itself as a systematic system of changing our minds about everything that we perceive. Everything. And that's a start at the beginning.
Hey, Anna,
Yes.
when I get confused about this material, I try to go back to the basics.
Now you're confused? You weren't confused up to just now? Okay. You had
In and out of
it up to then.
But a basic thing in the course is removing the blocks through the awareness of love.
Yes.
And so communication,
That's right.
clearly we have blocks.
Yes.
We
that's
project.
right. That's right. That's right.
That's not good communication.
At all.
And
It's
I haven't
total
heard you say the word forgiveness tonight, but that's, I think you're incorporating those concepts.
Absolutely, yeah.
But I guess, maybe can you tie that in?
Yeah,
The blocks with this
absolutely.
communication?
Well, here's the deal. What happens when you really, let's say there's somebody that you got a conflict with, and you begin to really talk to that person without defense? What really happens?
You join with.
You begin to see that you're not so different, which is forgiveness. So communication leads to an awareness of like, oh, we're not so different after all. And now we forgive. That is forgiveness. Forgiveness is not, I forgive you for what you did. I'm not going to forget. I forgive you for what you did to me, because I'm the better of the two. I'm a Course in Miracles student. I forgive you. Of course, it says not forgiveness. Forgiveness is when you recognize that that is yourself, and that what you were judging them about, what you were upset about, is something that you yourself do and have done and will do again. That's real. Forgiveness isn't, I forgive you for what you did. It goes, I've done that a time or two myself. And I will do it some more. And so we're not so different. You only want to be happy, and you're mistaken about what you are and who you are, and so am I. And our mistakes just happen to meet and get into a relationship. Special relationship. Our mistakes got together and went out on a date. My mistaken concept started dating your mistaken concept. And it started making mistakes together. Maybe we made some little mistakes together. Some little baby mistakes. Maybe we made some big mistakes. Right? So that's what forgiveness is. It's recognizing we're the same. And that recognition comes when we communicate, meaning really communicate. Communication with what's real. So when you communicate with what's real, in other words, when who I am as a soul and a being communicates with who you are as a soul and a being, that's real communication. The Course says when you're in a dialogue and it's just attack, defense. I won't even use the word attack because we're good Course in Miracles. I don't attack people anymore. I'm a good Course in Miracles student. Yeah, but when you're in a dialogue and it's defense. Can you relate to that? We can relate to that more easily than when you're in a dialogue and you're attacking. Of course, that's not communication, by the way. So don't tell yourself that if you're in a defense, angry, defense kind of dialogue, of course, that is not communication. That is just separation in the form of a conversation or a dialogue. That's what the Course says. He says the ego is absolutely against communication insofar as it promotes separateness. So ego does not want us to talk to each other unless, when we talk to each other, we're just going to be looking for how we're different, and then we fight about that. We argue about that. You ever been in a conversation like that? Where all you're doing is arguing about how you're different. I didn't do that. I didn't say that. I would never do that. I would never say that. I didn't say that. But you did say that. You did that. No, I didn't do that. Okay? That is the only kind of so-called communication the ego allows. But any kind of communication where we go, all right, you're afraid, I'm afraid, you made mistakes, I made mistakes. This is not who I really am, this is not who you really are. Let's join on remembering the truth that we share, which is that we're both innocent children of God who don't know what they're doing. The ego is against that. It will never, ever support that kind of communication.
Because the ego always likes to keep the conflict going.
That's the ego's life. That's its blood. That's its food. The ego starves without conflict. And without differences, the ego cannot exist. Because the ego is the idea of, I'm different. We're different. And I'd like to keep it that way. I'm not like that. I've never done that. Right? That is how the ego lives. That's how it survives. And so the second that you start communicating, real communication, where you're joining with what is real in that person, and you're coming from what's real in you, which is the love and the sameness and the union. The ego will do everything. All of a sudden you're talking on the phone, we're one, oh, it's so great. Whoop, lost cell service. Why is that? Or like with me, talking truth, all of a sudden, I'm very jealous. For some reason, the phone goes dead, or you can't talk anymore, or the next thing you know, you just never talk to that person again. I don't need to talk to them anymore. Why? Because the ego is against communication, because it is the end of the ego.
So is it like trying to create within two people the same thing we've created within ourselves, the two sides in conflict?
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. We've projected the split mind into people. And so, since we seem to be two selves in conflict, at war with each other within our own mind, oh, guess what we experience outside? Guess what we experience with other people? We're always fighting with people, always arguing with people. Right? Always arguing. I'm tired of arguing. Wow. Because whenever we're arguing, it's just the ego trying to keep itself going. There's no good that really comes from arguing. Ever. What is always arguing is about trying to establish who's right, trying to establish how we're different. It's always that. Wow.
Since it appears you can't get rid of the ego, how do you keep it at bay?
By recognizing the truth. By giving yourself a spiritual practice, whether it's the Course or something else, that every day teaches you how to see no difference, how to see no separation, how to see union, and how to communicate only that. So that is the way that, the ego is either kept in check, or that's how you keep the ego on the leash instead of it having you on the leash. So yeah, the Course does say, basically, if you got a body, you're going to have an ego. There are a few rare beings who have come into a body and they don't have an ego. Okay, but those folks are so rare, don't even have it as a goal. Don't even have that as a goal here. Oh, I'd like to be without an ego. Well, you may want to start with a more practical goal, like forgiveness. Yeah. All right, so let's read on a little bit. So, it says, God, who encompasses all being, nevertheless created beings who have everything individually, but who want to share the everything they have individually to increase their joy. Interesting. So, okay, now how did that go? What's the creation story here? What's the creation story? Well, of course, the Miracle's creation story is a little different. God created beings who have everything individually. I have everything, you have everything, you have everything, you have everything. You were created complete, you were created complete. Each one of us have everything. But we want to share it. Why? To increase our joy. Isn't that interesting? So that's what's really going on here. So what is God's goal here? God's goal is that our joy increase. Who knew? We all learned, here's what God wants. He wants you to obey His commandments. That's what God wants from you. And that's going to entail some sacrifice. And if you want God to love you and to write your name in the book of life, you better sacrifice and obey these commandments, and here they are. Okay, now, that's what we all learned that God wants. Now, according to this, all God wants is for you to have everything that He gave you, and that you share it to increase your joy. That's it. That's all. That's the creation story. That's why God created us and what God created us for, and that's what's going on. He gave each of us everything, and then He created us wanting to share everything that we are, to increase our joy. Wow. He says, nothing that is real can be increased except by sharing. Nothing that is real can be increased except by sharing. And as a matter of fact, that's why God Himself created you. Why did God create me? Increase His joy. Wow. That's why God created me, to increase His joy. Wow. Not to have a bunch of little slaves and servants who obey His will. Who do His will on earth.
If we really believed that, it would certainly change how we went about things.
Mm-hmm.
If I want increase, I have to share.
That's right.
Getting, keeping, taking doesn't work.
That's right.
Want increase, I have to share.
That's right.
It's total opposite.
That's a total opposite. You want to have joy? You want to increase your joy? Share. Share what? Share the everything that you are. Okay. Don't know what the hell that means. And the Course says, you won't know what that means until you practice it. You will not know what that means. So don't sit there and go, what is that? What does that mean? Okay, go ahead.
Well, the lesson for today, was it 185, GS? Am I right on that?
I don't know. What a great Course in Miracles student you are. You actually know what the workbook lesson is for today. Impressive.
Well, only because I get an email, so.
Oh, perfect. Thank God for those emails.
Yeah, it just looks more impressive.
I love that.
nowadays.
That's, yes. It's still good.
But the one thing is, it says, I want the peace of God, and it gets into two minds with one intent become so strong that what they will becomes the will of God.
Beautiful. Say that again a little slower. That's beautiful.
I'm sorry. Two minds with one intent become so strong that what they will becomes the will of God.
Beautiful.
So it's not, I want the peace of God individually. It's almost like it has to be shared. It has to be joined with another mind, which
That's exactly right.
um,
That's exactly right.
for years I didn't pick up on that theme in this book.
Say that again.
For years I didn't pick up on
Yeah.
that theme.
Exactly. That the only way to experience your reality and increase the joy of your reality is to share it, which is the same thing as saying communicate it. In other words, you gotta share what you are. You know, God created me with everything, as everything. I have all joy, I have all beauty, I have all power, I have all love, I have all abundance, I have all life. And I want to share it. You know, we think, oh, if I have everything, honey, I'm going to keep it for myself. I'm going to put some walls around it, like a body. I'll put some locks on it. I'm going to keep it for myself. He's saying, actually, you were created as everything, with everything, and the only way that you can keep it and increase it and experience the full joy of having everything is to share it. And so instead of being people who we get with each other and like, I don't have everything, I don't have enough, I'm going to get it from you. I'm going to get this from you, and I'm going to get that from you, and I'm going to get this from you. That's, again, what the Course calls a special relationship. I don't have everything, I don't have enough, I have a very little, and now I'm seeking for people to get something from. That's what we have been, that's the sense of being that we've been going for. And then, how's that worked out for us? We've gotten a lot of stuff and gotten a lot of stuff from a lot of people, and here we still walk around feeling empty and lonely and afraid. But so you're right. It's not until there's a sharing or a joining of the minds on what's real, what we share. The only thing that's real is what we share. So in any dialogue, in any relationship or conversation, the only real thing that's going on is going to be something that we share, something that we both have. Now if we can join on that, and we join on what we have and what we share, then our minds become so powerful that they create with all the power of God. That's pretty powerful. Whatever those two people who join on what they share, whatever those two people want, guess what? God wants it too. God wants it with them. And then it comes into being. That's powerful. You want to create something? Join with another being, with another mind on the fact that you share it. Wow, thank you for sharing that. That's perfect.
Well, and I think I missed a key component to this material for years, and maybe
Yeah.
people have too,
Join the club.
Join the club.
Yeah.
which is
Absolutely.
spirituality is like an inside job, and I can just meditate my way to whatever. But that's really not what this book says in a lot of places.
That's exactly right. That's why the Course in Miracles says that it is the holy relationship that is the portal back to God. He says, you do not get back home by yourself. And I know for a long time, like my spiritual path, I was like trying to keep people out of the way, step on people out of my way. I'm on a spiritual path. Get away from me. Get away from me. I cannot not be around that. I'm on a spiritual path. Woo, I'm ahead of you. Speeding ahead, you know?
In a similar vein, the intent of prayer is to pray for others.
That's exactly
Not just
right.
for yourself.
That's exactly right. The ultimate purpose of prayer that goes up the ladder of prayer is the prayer for others. You know, prayer for others as yourself. And that's how the Course teaches us how to pray. It doesn't say, please God, can I have some more stuff? You know, the prayer of Course in Miracles teaches us is, this holy instant would I give to you on behalf of myself and so with whom I am one. It is not possible that they have peace without me, nor is it possible that I have peace and abundance without them, but it is wholly possible that we have peace and abundance together right now. And so I choose this instant right now as the one to give to you, Spirit of Truth, so that your blessings of peace and abundance may descend on both of us and keep us both in peace. That's how Course in Miracles teaches us how to pray for something. If you want something, ask it for someone else. Share the idea of it with someone else. Let's join on the fact and celebrate the fact that we both have eternal life, that we both were created complete, that we both have all abundance, all love, all joy, all perfection. Remember it for someone else. Beautiful. Thank you for bringing that piece in. All right. Okay, so we're going to stop here for tonight. And the rest of this section, so I don't know what I was thinking. I was thinking we would finish this section tonight. How do you make God laugh? Tell him your plans. But the rest of it is so beautiful. It's a really juicy, powerful section. So we'll keep going next week. So what we're passing around the love offering basket. And so thank you for your financial expressions of appreciation. This is part of what I do for a living. So thank you for sharing what is value to you with this, with us. And also, if you'd like to learn more about my holistic counseling practice, you can go to annakujawa.com and learn about my holistic counseling practice. I have a holistic counseling practice called Miracle Psychotherapeutics. And the purpose of that is a Miracle Psychotherapeutic Session is a session where we take these ideas and apply them specifically to whatever way that your ego is making exceptions. Yeah, you know, only love is real, I'm complete, except for that area, except in that relationship, except with money, except with health. And so in a Miracle Psychotherapeutic Session, that's a mouthful, huh? We take these ideas and we apply them to wherever your ego is trying to make you make exceptions to the rule. What rule? That you're entitled to miracles and that there's no order of difficulty in miracles. That's what a Miracle Psychotherapeutic Session is. If you're interested in that, go to annakujawa.com and learn about that. All right. Also, there's a notebook that I'm passing around. And it says if you'd like to opt in to the website where I offer webinars, and so live streaming meditations that you can join in, webinars, online classes where you can be at home and enjoy something like this. If you put your name on this list, then whenever I'm doing something, then you'll get a notice about it. This Wednesday night, I'm doing a live streaming meditation on how to heal a world meditation. Yay! Yay! Does that seem practical to anybody? Let's see. How to heal a world. How to meditate in such a way that you help to heal this planet. Let's see. Could that be practical? So anyway, that's what I'm going to be doing in this live stream meditation on this Wednesday evening, 6 o'clock Mountain Time. So if you put your name on that list, you'll get a notice of that saying when and how to connect with that meditation. Okay? Also, it's a way to make contact with the blog. I'm going to be keeping a blog where I'm just writing, like when I read read something and I get something, I'm gonna write about it. And I'm also going to be having a Ask a Course in Miracles teacher advice column in my blog. Dear Course in Miracles teacher, what do you do when your boss is the biggest jerk and you would like to strangle them? Wink, wink, LOL. I'm asking this for someone else.
Dear Abby.
Yeah, dear Annie. That's what, thank you. That's what's called. Dear Annie.
Strangling because you're forgiven.
Dear ACIM Annie, I'm writing this on behalf of a friend. Signed, confused and right. Okay? Signed, angry and right. All right. So that should be interesting and funny. All right. So now we're going to do the integration meditation. And then I end all my classes with an integration meditation, which is just a few minutes of going into meditation and using whatever we just heard. So whatever instructions the section gave us, that's what we're going to do. We're going to try to do something very bizarre and radical and do what it said to do. Okay? That's the purpose of all my classes, of all my teachings, is what did this book say to do? Because this is just an instruction manual. It's just an instruction manual for how to have lasting peace. That's all it is. Do this, do this, do that, do this, do this, do this, do that. The Course in Miracles is not full. The Course in Miracles is not full of don't do this and you better not do this and don't do that and don't do that and here's what happened if you do that. The Course in Miracles is a big curriculum of do only that and you'll have peace. Okay, so in the integration meditation at the end, I just go through what it said to do and we do it, okay? Which is exactly what we're supposed to be doing in our personal individual reading sessions, okay? Read it, do it. Read it, do it. All right, so, so go ahead and close your eyes if you haven't already. And just take a breath. And just tune into how you feel right now, having heard these ideas. How does having heard these ideas and heard them with others feel? How does it feel in your mind, in your body, in your emotions? Beautiful. All right, so the way that we're going to practice this tonight is I want you to bring to your awareness a situation or a relationship recently where there was conflict. Conflict. And I want you to look at this situation. And maybe this conflict is only in your mind. Or maybe it's within a relationship of some kind, but where there was conflict with another soul, with another being. And I want you to take note of it. How did it look? How did it feel? What is the story you told yourself about why you were in conflict? And now I want you to begin to look at it differently by asking yourself some deeper questions. And so the first question we ask ourselves about this conflict in this relationship is, in what way was I believing that we were different? In what way was I seeing us as being different? And what was the mistake I saw them making that I told myself I wasn't making? What What mistake was it that you saw them as making that you told yourself you weren't making? In what ways were you seeing yourself and them as different? And how did that go? Did that other person then go, oh, you're so right. I agree. I'm wrong, and you were right. And then you had peace? Is that how the conflict went? Beautiful. And then your mind's eye, I just want you to step back a pace from that conflicting relationship situation. And now, I want you to ask yourself, still keeping this person in your awareness, in what way are we the same? In what way are we not different? What is it that in this situation and in this moment we actually share? In this situation or relationship? What makes us equal and the same? Beautiful. And then the Course also teaches us, if you would like to have a healing in any situation or relationship, you pray, let me know this soul as I know myself. And so we say that to this person. Let me know this soul, let me know this brother or sister as I know myself. And then we pray, let me know this person let me recognize this person in the glorious context of their real relationship to me. Let me know this person's reality in the glorious context of their real relationship to me. Spirit, show me their real relationship to me. Show me how we are related. Show me how we are connected. Show me our connection. Spirit of truth. Spirit of healing. Beautiful. And now we also ask the Spirit of truth and healing within our own minds. We ask, show me that what we were fighting about is something I have and they have. I have all love. I have all value. And so do they. Show me that what we were arguing about, I already have completely, and so do they. Show me that I have everything, that I am complete, and so do they. So there's nothing to argue about, nothing to conflict about. And then we also ask the Spirit of truth and healing in our minds. Show me how to share right now the everything that I have and everything that I am. Show me how to share the everything I have and the everything I am right now with this person. Show me how to do that. Spirit of healing, Spirit of truth. Show me how to celebrate that. Show me how to share that. Beautiful. And now I want you to look upon this person with eyes that have been blessed by the truth that you share. How do they look to you now through your recognition of your connection, your relatedness, the completion that you both share? How do they look to you now? Look upon them with those eyes, with that perception for a few moments, and let that perception of their beauty, their glory, their light, their innocence, let the light of their innocence heal you. Let it heal your sadness. Let it heal your belief in lack and loss. Let it heal your sense of incompleteness. Let it show you yourself, your own beauty, your own power, your own completeness. And breathe. Take a breath. Let that light, let that joy that just increased between you two fill your body. Let it fill your mind and flood your body with forgiveness, with healing, with the joy and the light that heals. Let that perception of sameness fill your mind and flood every cell in your body with the light, the healing light, the golden healing light of forgiveness and joy. And breathe it in. Beautiful, beautiful. And then when you're ready, just bring your awareness back to the room or back to your body. Taking
Thank
a
you.
breath, take it in. Beautiful. Thank you so much for being here and helping us to have other minds to practice being one with. You gotta have others to practice one. You can't practice oneness by yourself, right? gotta have others to practice being one with. So thank you for your willingness to bring your bodies here so that we can all practice, have other beings to practice that with and experience the healing power of that. Because that's what we unleash when we do this together. Thank you, thank you. I appreciate you all, and may the Course be with you.
Thank you for creating
All
this.
right, thank you.